don't know if Sil in Canada is watching. Be nice if you are, Sil. Okay. He's not happy. We can't go onto the road. We're going to have to... also, it's kind of difficult because Ryan, and the way Ryan is parked, being able to see them without getting his vehicle in the shot. So at the moment, that's all we can do, unfortunately. As I got a little bit closer to try and squeeze past the tree here. Yeah, copy. Try, if you're on one of your radios, Nikki, try your channel 1. Sorry, I didn't copy that. No, can't have anything to do. Try channel 4. Go to channel 4. You copy me on this channel? Channel 4 on our radio. Sorry folks, I know it's a really nice sighting, but I'm trying to get hold of FC and we can't talk on the Game Drive channel all the time. It's going to be very disruptive to the guides and their guests. And I'm probably at the furthest most point away from camp to be able to go back and help Nikki sort it out. A beautiful animal. I'm hoping that some of you are sending in IDs. Nikki, if you can hear me, can you try our radio, the one that's next to you? Try that on channel 4, please. Okay, I was just curious because this channel is working and I just wasn't really sure which radio you were speaking on. But I'm hearing you on channel 2. And Induna's just climbed that tree on that impala kill. Very, very full. And doing what I was afraid they might do. Don't go far, boy. Lie down in the shade here. Beautiful. I should be taking photographs.
People miss out.
Pardon?
Then people would miss out.
Hello boys. Long time no see. Looks like my dreams were right last night.
I've got some visitors. You guys can.
Let's move for Ryan. Is he coming past? Is it okay? I'm trying to get a morning glories behind his head, sort of as though it's a little crown. Now, evidently Texan has got a couple, I don't know how many more, 1 or 2, maybe 3 or more of these boys up here on Torchwood, saying that they're also very, very full. So they too must have had something last night. And I'm not sure if you heard me earlier, but Induna, now that we're here, Induna has climbed that tree again. So he must have been watching me when I was out of the car looking at the blood in the road. He must have been watching me. He couldn't have been too far away from us. And he's subsequently climbed it back up into that tree. It's funny how when I looked at that impala, it sort of had Induna written all over it. It takes, how many are there?
Just only one.
Copy that. It is hard work being a big cat. I can hear you. What channel am I on? Great, thanks Nikki. Good, radio's back up again, perfect. It's almost like being lost in a wilderness when we don't have radio contact with FC. It's disconcerting. Covered in flies, these boys. Also seeing the one on the left, his mane is still quite matted from the recent feeding that they've been doing. One on the right, I say one on the left. One on the right must have walked through a spider web, a social spider web, because he's got silk on his face.
So lock, leaving full mark on lock. I think Spider will be making his way. Section, thanks very much, Paul.
Who was the first email for that, Nikki? A couple of IDs coming in with the Matimbas. Well, I'm not surprised. The first email that came in was still in Canada. I'm glad you're watching, Sil. Wolf and Hawk. Hi, Jennifer. Sure. Morning, Phil. Jennifer wants me to get out and move the stick. Sure. Right after I tickle him on the chin to subdue him. Which one is the stick in the way?
I think that was earlier. I think it was the lag there.
Because I think the stick should be in the middle of the two now. More or
Yeah,
less.
we haven't had a stick in the way for a while.
There's just that one stick there that might have been in the way. When you're approaching lion, even if there are other vehicles, it's always important to keep track of what the animals are doing and how they're reacting. Watching facial expressions, watching their ears, especially with cats. Their ears, their tails. And when I first started approaching, the one changed his position in such a way that it gave me an idea that I was encroaching on his personal space. And so I initially just stopped where we were. And it's only once they relax again that you can then change position and get a better view. But hopefully this is how these boys are going to be for most of the day. Go ahead, Nikki. Hi, Lynn. In Canada, saying black cuckoo before the lion. Actually, it wasn't. It was a bit smaller than a black cuckoo. Gee, Lynn, I didn't think I was going to say you were wrong. But it was a quick sighting, though. It's the same size as a fork-tailed drongo. The cuckoo is probably about twice that size. I thought it might still be around. It might be. We might have a look for it in a bit. And not an easy bird to differentiate from a couple of other birds. I'm going to look really closely at this, the colour of the eye, shape of the tail. Well, I know a lot of people are happy that we're seeing two of these Matimbas, but I think there's one person that is over the moon right now. We've had a drought for some time. In fact, I can't even remember the last time we saw these cats. Making a noise. Sorry, boys. Sorry. Jared's duct tape. Parrot play. Gee, I haven't heard that name. Wanting to know the purple flowers behind the lions. Oh, Arlene Levin. Good morning, Arlene. That's the morning glory. Flowering only now. We won't be seeing those much in the afternoon. Really mostly a morning flower, hence the name, morning glory. And that particular species is Ipemoea crassipes. Florida. Hello, Marsha, Louisville, Kentucky, home of Maker's Mark, the second best bourbon. Sorry, Marsha, couldn't resist that little dig. But Marsha was asking, how come the lion are covered in flies, but the leopards and the other predators are not? I think largely because of the color of lion that we see them more than we see them on leopard. I mean, we've seen leopard irritated by flies on a number of occasions, but I think with the black markings on their face we don't get to see the flies on them as much as we see them on lion. But also lion are much messier eaters than leopards, especially these boys, because they'll be catching something very large and they get blood everywhere. I'm looking at that one on the left. His mane is quite matted, his face and there's sort of a rouge tinge to it, which gives some indication of having fed recently and being blood on his face. But I've been close to lion because I've been involved in lion studies where they've been darted, and they're quite smelly, and that's because of all the bits of their kills that still stick to them. I mean, they do clean, and they, as all cats, are quite meticulous, but after feeding they tend to be a little bit, they tend to let cleanliness take a back seat. They get so full and they just want to do this, they just want to sleep. Morning, Thomas. Interesting question. How far away from the kill would they go and rest? And it largely depends on where the kill is. I mean, if we're talking about the Matimbas, for example, big male lions like this don't really have much of a problem with other animals coming to steal their kills, unless it's a larger coalition of lion, a different coalition of lion, that are likely to chase them off. But the chances of that happening are fairly remote. And being very large cats and being in a coalition themselves, they don't have to worry about things. If they're on a very large kill, they will sleep very close to the kill. If they still want to feed on it, they will invariably sleep quite close to it. I've seen lions sleeping in the heat of the day, in the sunshine, because there are a lot of vultures around and the killer's in the open. And as soon as they go and turn around and go and lie down in the shade, the vultures come down and they're reluctant to let.
Yeah, morning, bro. How many stations do you have there? There's 3 vehicles on lock now, but I'm on site. I'm on north of Santa Lucia, going inside of the park.
So, thanks. Still saying 17th of October was the last. That's only a month. I didn't realize it was only a month. It seems like longer. But just getting back to that question, if it's a small kill and they finish it, then it doesn't really matter where they lie. I was also saying that I've seen lion that will sleep right next to the kill in the sun because they don't want to move back into the shade because they don't want the vultures to get it. And that's one of those times when they will sleep as close to it as possible. As far as I know, it hasn't been established where their kill was last night. With another one of these males on Torchwood, also very, very full, kill could be anywhere. But it also could have been something that they've finished. 3 full lion. I'm talking about something like a kudu or zebra. If it was anything bigger like a buffalo, they would probably still be there. But they're not likely to be going back to a kill if they are here. That one's up on Torchwood, and there isn't a kill within visible range of them. And to my knowledge, that means that they've finished whatever it is that they killed, and they've left the sighting, or rather the site of the kill.
Thank you very much, station. I'm leaving a lot of these to my daughter and dollars. I'm leaving Mark and Frodo on off. Wait for one. I think Henry making his way in and look there.
Shalom Rafi, Boker Tov, מה שלומך? אני יופי, הכל בסדר. So, Rafi is asking about that male on the right. I was actually looking at the same thing when he was sitting up, and we can't see it now because on his right shoulder, Rafi is asking if it was an injury, and I was looking at that earlier because there were some flies on it. But Rafi, it looks like it was an old injury because there's scar tissue there, and it's possible that in the process of feeding and fighting, maybe last night, with regards to interaction with his brothers, he must have maybe reopened that. It's a small injury. It's a tiny little size of a thumbnail type of nick. But it looks like it's old scar tissue, so I think that maybe it might be that he is okay there. Might be that he's just somehow it reopened, but he's lying on top of it now, so he's probably got grass and things digging into it. And I'm going to try and pull forward a little bit. So that Henry's people don't. We got that stick in the middle of them now. Huh? I know. Abonile nyao wam. Napambile nyao kule.
Now straight west.
We'd have to wait for him to sit up to be able to see it again. But it's not an injury that one could worry about. You know, if you have to look at the scars on their faces, they've had worse injuries on their noses and around their faces from smacking each other. And despite the fact that their claws carry a lot of bacteria, they heal very well. A lot of it has got to do with antibacterial properties in their saliva. Animals are resilient. Nature is resilient. And where something looks really, really bad to us, and if we think about it, because we're such sissies and we have such a low pain threshold, we see animals with injuries and we feel for them, and we think of how we would feel with the same kind of injury. But I think there's something that happens in the brains of animals. Endorphins are released. There are things that happen in the brains of animals that help them cope with life, even with what might seem to be life-threatening injuries. Thank you, Sarah. How old are the Matimbas? Good question. Sil might help us out, because they're actually, I think, 2 or 3 different ages amongst all 6 of them. These 2 look to me about the same age, and if we look closer at the noses of these 2 boys, we can see that they're mostly black. They're a little bit mottled, and to me that tells me they're sort of 5 going 5-ish. Can't be much worse. If they were 6, the noses would be completely black. So I'm guessing they're probably around 5 years old. But I'm sure Sil in Canada has a greater, or rather a better understanding of these Matimbas. Sil's been following them quite closely. And flies. Problem with sitting with lion is you get their flies. Although I do get a kick out of thinking that there's a fly on my nose that was sitting on the lion's nose a minute ago. Morning, Ashley. Wanting to know if these 2 are related, and is that why they're together? Yes, they are related, Ashley. I would guess, looking at them, similar ages, similar sizes, I would say that they're brothers. And you will not likely get unrelated males together. Now these 2 are part of a group of 6, what we call a coalition. A group of 6 males that came from the same pride. Now they might be unrelated in terms of having different mothers. There's likelihood that they might have the same father. But they would have grown up in the same pride. And lionesses, in a pride of lionesses, often you will find that they will come into estrus together, and they will have cubs at pretty much the same time. So that if there are different lionesses, let's say 3 or 4 lionesses, if they were to each give birth at intervals of several months, you're going to have a discrepancy in the ages of the cubs, and that just causes far too much competition when the cubs are starting to be weaned and they're growing up. When it comes to cubs on a kill, older cubs will dominate, and the younger cubs will find it hard to get in to feed. So nature makes it that lionesses will often come into estrus together, conceive pretty much around about the same time. And you'll find that when you've got cubs in the pride of lion, that the ages are not that far apart, a few months maybe at the most. So of this group of 6 males, there are probably 2, if not 3 different ages of males that could come from 2 or 3 lionesses within the same pride. But they would be related, if not as the same litter, but at least from the same pride. You will not get male lion coexisting or cohabiting or as close as these 2 boys are if they were unrelated. And I suppose more evidence that points towards them being brothers is the proximity, that they're lying next to each other. Because they don't mind being in each other's spaces, which means that they've grown up together. Since they were little, they've shared the same kind of intimacy.
Morning, Andrew. I've just pulled out. I've had Mark notification on Lockman in charge.
Thanks, Sil. Now we can see. No, we can't. I was going to say, now we can see that mark on his shoulder, and then he lay down again. I wasn't thinking when he sat up because I was listening to two radios at once. Thanks, Sil. Saying on the 11th of September was the last time we saw 5 of them together, and they had that buffalo kill at Buffelshoek Dam. That was quite amazing. I remember that. That was when we saw the one with the injured eye. I don't know where he is. There's neither of these two. And that one on the left looks fuller than the one on the right, but it might just be the way the ground is shaped. But still saying yes, around 5 years old. Thanks, Sil. Hang on, Nicky.
Yeah, no.
Northern side of Torchwood.
Yeah, family.
Andrew, come in. Andrew, come in. Texan, come in.
Yeah, John.
Yeah, what was that bumper?
That's in Gala, the Baba Yari at Torchwood, higher, southern side of Torchwood. But that's Yamada, and one Madura just lying with more to the north of the dam.
Okay, thanks. Well, there you go. It goes to show that you can never really be sure about things. What I was saying earlier is kind of just been...
Yeah, but the bumper that's that's one of the things with it.
Yeah, I believe so. He must have been watching me when I was fumbling, yeah. So I was saying that it's not likely that if there was meat left that they would have left the kill, but they have, and that possibly means they might not go back to it, or who knows, maybe they will. But the kill has been found north of Torchwood Camp. Let's see, I don't even know where that is, since I've never been to Torchwood. I'll see if I can find it on this map. And try and find out how far away it is from us. Marula Pan, Green Pan, Coral, Second Rock, Cheetah Pan, Buffelshoek Dam, first Torchwood there. Oh, it's quite far away. It's further down south. It's like where Mumba Road is. If you carry on Mumba Road and you go east, that's where you get to Torchwood Camp. And there's a dam there, and just north of that is where... Sorry, don't you like me talking? Now we can see that little nick on his shoulder. Anyways, it's got to be a good 500, at least 500 meters from here. There are a lot of flies on that little wound, but it's nothing to be concerned about. Hello, Karen wanting to know if they have names, individual names. Only one of them has a name, the big male who's kind of the brute of the pack, missing the tip of his tail. His name is Induna, the same as our leopard who's missing the tip of his tail. Just another thing to point out to you, if we're looking at age, and one thing I pointed out was nose. Another thing we can look at, because he's lifting his upper lip, is to see how sharp and how neat those canines are. Sorry, Tara. Tara's clicking away, and then I talk about something, and she's got
No,
it.
we've got it on screen.
Oh, you got it on screen. Hang. Go ahead, Andrew.
Morning, Mark. Can I swing past by Bengala?
Yeah, sure. Sorry, Nikki. Okay, Jack Lemons. Jack, I haven't heard about that lion for probably over a year. A lion that had a hip problem. I couldn't tell you, Jack. I'm afraid I'd have to find. I don't know. As far as, do you remember? Very often we have animals that might have an injury, and then we get asked questions if we know what happened to them. And the only thing I can really say is that we are a tiny, tiny little patch of land in a giant wilderness area, and if that animal is not here, we tend to not know where they go. But this is the first time anybody's raised the question of that male lion in months. I don't even know if he's still alive. Jack, couldn't tell you, I'm afraid. Joan asking the kill. That JB, it was a buffalo. We have a group of big male lions, and sometimes the only thing that will sustain them, or even a big pride of lion, the only thing that sustains them are big mammals like buffalo and giraffe. And these boys tend to specialize in buffalo, tend to be mostly only buffalo hunters. And they'd practically be able to swallow a baby impala whole. I don't want flesh. I'm trying to think back. I think the last time that lion was seen was maybe at Nkorokam. No, I'm not sure, Jack. Really can't tell you. Hi, Sarah. Asking whether they would kill something if it came near them, even though they're quite full. I would be able to give you a yes and a no there. Having been with lions that are full and having had animals walk past them, in some instances they just sit up and they watch the animals go by and they don't do anything, and I've seen in other circumstances where they belly up to the sky and animals are walking around and they watch the animal with their head upside down and they don't even sit up and look at them. Also, I've seen them lying like this where they'll open up one eye and they'll watch an animal and they won't take much notice. But having said that, I have seen lions that have finished the kill and they're sleeping like this and the kudu or something walks by and they're up and they're on the hunt immediately. I think a lot of it has got to do with how full they are. I think these boys especially, it is looking like the one on the left is a little bit more full than his brother. I'd say that it would slow them down too much. So right now I very much doubt it, unless it was an easy catch. Now earlier on I was telling you about East Africa and how the lion lie around the edges of the lakes in Sulu Game Reserve waiting for animals to come down to drink. And you get big herds of buffalo there, herds of 400 odd strong buffalo. And I've seen a pride of lion, one of the prides that we had as a study group on one lake, Lake Nzelekela. how they would lie in the palm fronds hiding full like this, and they'd wait until the buffalo come down, and they'd go and kill a female, a pregnant buffalo cow, and remove the unborn calf and eat the calf and leave the mother, to a point where at one stage there must have been at least 6 whole buffalo females drying in the sun. It's not even the hyenas were getting to it. It was just at the time of the year, and there's just so much that happens. And those were times when I was seeing lions just hunting with full stomachs just because they liked the taste of unborn buffalo. And they were so full that that's all that they could eat. They couldn't eat further than that. So it's not something that you can have a definite answer to. I think it depends on the cats, it depends on the day, it depends on what prey it is, it depends on how full they are. It's one of those perfect questions, or it's one of those questions that has the perfect "it depends" answer that I usually give when I give answers, because there's not really a set of behavior or a set of rules of how they behave when they fool regarding hunting. Are you going to Ingwe?
Yeah, affirmative. You copy that? Got a Matimba there, Toshi, at Long Island.
Yeah, I did copy that. Can it be seen from the cut line?
No, just north of Toshi camp. But yeah, you can see it a lot in there. There's a lot of meat there. The other one, the other knowledge, quite far from there. But I'm sure I don't know why they just got off.
Okay, thanks, Andrew.
Yeah, I'm trying to Ingwe. Just right there. Yeah.
Copy, thanks. Andrew's saying that quite a lot of meat left on that buffalo. Pity I'm not going to get to see it, because I'd like to. But also Andrew's saying he's not sure why they left the kill. It isn't that common that if there's a lot of meat on a kill that they would come this far away from it. But the reason why I'm saying I would like to see how much meat there is still left on that buffalo is because if there's still a lot and they haven't fed that much, it's quite possible that they were already full when they killed it, and that could be why they've left it, is because they are so full and they don't need to feed. They could lie like this for the next 3 days without feeding and wouldn't really hurt their body mass, weight ratio, body mass,
You're on the English. Yeah, the manual just come. This is east of
Tambuti Dam.
Okay.
We'll see if we can get there as well in a little while. Jen wants to know how long the lion's canines are. Good question. From the gum, I'd say about 2.5 inches. Oh, black-breasted roller's upset about something. LBR. Go away, fly, please. I'm busy. Let me see. 2.5 inches. Yeah, maybe 2.5 inches out of the gum, and there's probably still another inch or more inside the gum. Actually, no, it's probably more inside the gum than out. don't think they'd really let me go and measure them right now. I don't think I really want to go and measure the canine. Hello Lucille and Jim. Interesting question. If a lioness is killed, will another lioness take care of the cubs? Well, forgive me if I'm going to say it depends. Tara, please can I get this insect on the dashboard? I've been talking about it so much in time, and some people might remember me talking about it. This one here. Oh, I pointed it and it flew away. If it comes back. It was a stalk-eyed fly. Some of you have heard me talk about stalk-eyed flies. And it wasn't. It was a special stalk-eyed fly. Okay, sorry. The seal. See, I get distracted very, very easily, even if it's a little fly on the dashboard sitting with big male lions. Just had a fly up my nose, made it itchy. Yes and no. Sometimes, let's have a look at those canines. It's about maybe 2 inches, his lower canines. Can't see his up until he yawns. Can you yawn, please? Big yawn, open wide. No, okay, don't. See, I wonder if I yawn, maybe it gets catchy, and then maybe I can make him yawn. Oh, he's uncomfortable. He's so full. He's uncomfortable. There you go. Look at that. 2 magnificent animals. Icons of Africa. And if they go any further east, we're going to have to say goodbye, boys. He's marking his territory. No, he's just toileting. And that, unfortunately, is almost upwind. I hope not. Because, that is not going to be pleasant. Got some crown plovers starting to complain about him being there. There is your thank you. Yeah, easily 2.5 inches for this. He finally did yawn. Sorry, I got sidetracked. I think partly it depends on the age of the cubs, partly it depends on the pride, and partly it depends on the circumstances, and partly it'll depend on the relationship of the females within the pride. What?
It's got a whiff.
Yes, I just got a whiff too. Just as you said, it hit me. Why can't we have our normal southerly wind coming up to the cut line now? Fortunately, he didn't go too far. He just went to the toilet and he came back. I'm going to move shortly. Look how full he is. His back is bent. His tummy's so full. Okay, let's just move position. see, lion are one of the few animals that engage in what we call allosuckling, where a lioness is likely to suckle cubs that are not her own, as long as they may be her sisters or within the pride, obviously not unrelated cubs. And it is possible that if they're still suckling, if they're that young and their mother passes on, and there are other cubs of similar age, it's possible that, yes, maybe they will be suckled from the other lioness. Oh, this is a bit low. Was that from Ruffy? Okay, didn't copy that. Interesting question from Ruffy. Can't remember the first part of it, but basically Ruffy is saying, with the way birds alarm at predators, why do the predators not catch those birds? And are those birds alarming for other animals or to warn other things? Now, there's an interesting theory, Ruffy, that he who shouts first and shouts loudest is the least likely to be caught. And whether it's a bird or an animal, as long as you're alarming, you are seeing the predator. And as long as you are seeing the predator, the element of surprise is no longer a possibility. And because of that, you are pretty much assured of survival by being the first to, or being one of the animals that is alarming. No predator is going to be able to attack and kill an animal that is already looking at it and already alarming and already shouting at it. Lion tend not to catch birds. Leopard do, though, and we've seen, in fact we had one beautiful scene once with Karula walking down the road. It was one of those roads that had a little two-track where there was what we call a middle monarchy, a grassy patch in between the two tire tracks. And she was walking along the left-hand one, and there was a dove that was concealed by grasses in the middle of the road on the right-hand track. Oof, the boys are tired. And as she drew level with the dove flew up, and the initial wing beat of the dove first gave her a fright, and she sort of jumped to the left. But her instinct was so lightning fast that she actually managed to use that to her advantage and pounced to the right and actually caught the dove in midair as it was taking off. Lion are not really going to catch birds. But essentially a bird is alarming to warn other animals, other birds. But it is primarily a selfish thing. There's been a lot of debate about it. There have been a lot of studies as to why animals alarm. But they seem to think, and one of the things that's come out of a lot of the studies is the fact that it's not so much altruism, it's not so much an animal or a bird warning everybody else. It all boils down to the fact that if you can be one of the first that has seen the predator and you're the ones that are shouting, you're the one that is least likely to be caught. So it is to a large extent a self-preservation thing. It does have a secondary purpose, and that is to help make everything else aware that there is a predator, because after all, the more animals there are that are aware that the predator is around and are shouting at the predator, the greater the likelihood that that predator, whether it is an eagle or a lion or a leopard, the greater chance there is of that predator having to move away from that area because its hunting It no longer has the element of surprise. I hope that answers the question, Rafi. Are leopards aware of lions and vice versa? From Tora. Hi, Tora. And yes, they are very much aware of each other. Now, in any area, it doesn't matter where you are in Africa, because leopard are so widespread, I think you're pretty much safe to say that wherever there are lion, there are leopards within their territories. Lion's territory can sometimes hold up to 9, 10, even more different leopards because of the size of a lion's territory in comparison to the size of a leopard's territory. Territory size is often governed by various different factors, including the availability of prey species, the availability of, or not the availability, but the density of the population of that particular animal, as well as to a large extent the habitat, because it's the habitat and the type of vegetation that dictates the number of prey species that that area can carry, and that will dictate to a large extent how many predators will be in that area and how big their territories can be. But all that aside, there will always be leopards within the territories of lions, because leopards' territories are so much smaller, and they, of course, being a territory means that they're in that area all the time. So whichever leopards fall within the territory of these lions, there's absolutely no doubt in my mind that their paths cross on a regular basis. And the one thing that keeps them apart is the leopard's ability to climb trees away from the likes of these big, heavy male lions.
Are you able to move forward a bit?
Yeah, because he's lying down. Now they are competing for the same food, and that makes them competitors, and that makes them, in some respects, makes them enemies. And if a lion is able to get hold of a leopard, it wouldn't hesitate to kill it. It's not so easy for leopard to kill lion, but if leopard came across lion cubs, I think you could be quite sure that the leopard would probably dispose of it. It's called eliminating competition. It's not something that is very common in nature, except for, of course, us human beings. But it's about as far as nature goes in terms of eliminating. It's only really us human beings that eliminate not only our competition, but we eliminate the competition for our food sources. It would be like lions saying, well, I like zebra, so I'm going to kill all the other animals so that it makes more zebra. It's like what we've done, is we say, we like cattle, so we'll take out all the other animals in an area so that we can just keep cattle. We're the only vehicle, we're the only creature on the planet that takes it so much further, that we don't only kill our competition, but we kill the competition of our food sources. We will take out every plant, tree, flower in an area just so that we can grow one crop. So we possibly are one of the most wasteful of animals on the planet. Hello, Frank. Can't give you an answer, I'm afraid. Frank wants to know the pounds per square inch pressure of the jaws of a lion. I'd have to Google it, Frank. I haven't the faintest idea. I have to be honest with you. I know that tests were done. I know that there's been stuff on TV where they had this thing on the end of a stick and they got a crocodile to bite it and they got all sorts of things to bite it. And they might have got some figures out of it, but I don't think you could ever really gauge it based on an artificial thing like that. You know, we had circumstances a year ago where, fortunately it was before these Matimbas came in, but when the Majingilans moved into this area, another group of 5 big males, and they clashed with the previous coalition of males that held reign here, and there was an incredible fight much further east from here. Sadly, we didn't get to see it. We only heard about the aftermath. But in circumstances like that, where you've got 2 big males fighting, and you have one big male actually biting into the head or the throat of another lion, I think the amount of aggression, the amount of adrenaline, the circumstances under which that is happening, you will find a greater pound per square inch being exerted by those jaws than when it is, say, chewing on a buffalo. By the same token, when a lion is throttling a buffalo, probably it's biting down harder and holding on tighter than if you were to put some sort of gauge in a piece of meat and give it to the lion. I hope you know what I'm getting at. I mean, I don't know how one would measure pounds per square inch of the bite of an animal, because the strength at which it bites will vary depending on the circumstances. But anyways, I've never seen figures. I know that there were figures put out, and there was crocodile and hyena and snapping turtle and lion, but I haven't the faintest idea. I have to be honest with you, I don't like using those kind of figures. Not every lion is going to bite with the same bite pressure, and not every time it bites. I don't know. I suppose the question is what is the most? I still can't answer it. I'd have to get you viewers out there to do a bit of Googling to give me an answer. Perhaps we should leave these boys sleeping. Go and find our friend in Djuma. See if he's back on his kill. I'm a little reluctant to, because although they're full and they tend to be sleeping, the temperatures are still quite cool. It's a little bit cloudy. Maybe we'll give it a few more minutes, watch them a little bit more. We're right on the northeastern corner of, in fact, they are theoretically off of Djuma right now. They are about 5 meters off of Djuma. And if they go anywhere north or east from here, we're not going to see them again for a while. As they age, I was pointing out the canines earlier, and although we don't see the upper canines too much because of the lips hanging over, when you see an old lion from chewing on bone all his life, from about the age of 6 or so, those canines start wearing down, start getting a little bit rounded. Yeah, sure. Thanks, Randy. 1,000 pounds or 453 kilos. Is that pounds per square inch? PSR. Thanks, Randy. 1,000 pounds. Thanks, Jody. Jody's saying Googled it and it came back at 940 pounds per square inch. That's yeah, it's frustrating, I know, Nick, because you talk and then I talk and you stop and then I stop, and it's because there's a few seconds delay. But don't worry, talk over me. I'll shut up. And Nat Geo says 600 pounds per square inch. See, we've got 3 different measurements, although 940 and 1,000 are pretty close. But I just wish I knew how they would measure something like that. You know, are they taking a captive lion and measuring it? Are they... See, I don't know. That's what I want to know. To me, what would be more interesting than the actual bite pressure of a lion is how they're going to measure it, because then I can tear that apart. Anyways, find some fault with it. No, I'll get that when I come back, maybe. Or forward it to me, mark@djuma.com. Thanks, Josie. Evidently, Josie sending in about 6 different animals. There's a bird in the Firebreak Road up ahead behind that elephant dung. It's a little bit far. I don't know if we can get it. It'd be a nice one to do for a guessing game. Turn around, bird. Actually, you know what? I think I might have it on my list. I'm not sure. I seem to recall seeing them up near Sydney's Dam, if I'm not mistaken. But then I don't know if I marked it off. Anyway, send it in if you know what it is. Lovely black and white speckled chest. It's gone now. It was sitting on top of a tree when we first got here and was calling very loudly. Yeah, I do have it. It's a ground scraper thrush. Okay, boys are sleeping. I think let's go via Buffelshoek Dam and then back onto the cut line, and we'll go down and see if Induna's still up a tree with his kill. Bye-bye, boys. I hope you're still going to be around this afternoon. It's going to get hot, which means that they're going to need a bit of shade, which means that maybe they will... A couple of combretums here that might offer enough shade. Who knows? But I'm sure it would be nice for some of our afternoon viewers to see them as well.